And a very good Sunday morning to you all, ladies and gents. Hope you're all well. And for this video, I would first like to take us back into the long distant past, back into an era when Norman kings sat the throne and grey abbesses ruled the land. In this case, we see Barking Abbey once again. As I've said before and will say again now, Barking Abbey does crop up a lot and will crop up quite a bit in our local history because it was one of the wealthiest abbeys in the land and held such great power, as did its abbesses. Here we see the abbey in around 1500. A very, very great building. You see the town around it, and even the complex of buildings attached to the abbey itself just shows what a power hub and how big it was. Up to the top right hand side of the photo, you'll see a little blue arrow. That marks the River Roding, an ancient river and a super highway of its day. Very small and piddly now by the looks of it, and encroached upon and banked and built in. But in its day a big open river that connected the fishing town of Barking to the Thames and connected the town of Barking to Ilford, which is where we're going to be going in a minute. The foundation that we're going to be seeing in a very modern Ilford, none of the residents of that time would recognise Ilford at all now. Even I don't recognise bits of it from when I was a child. But that's where we're going to be going, to a former leper hospital. The Hospital Chapel of St Mary the Virgin and St Thomas of Canterbury, also known as Ilford Hospital Chapel on Ilford Hill. It's an ancient charitable foundation dating from around 1140 and is the oldest building in the London borough of Redbridge. In 1954 it was protected as a Grade 2 star listed building under UK legislation. This organisation, which was a charitable organisation, lepers were feared by many people in those days, and before the welfare state it was generally the church that took care of them, with the lazar houses where these people could go and they would receive Christian care and kindness and could be kept away from the rest of the community. So it was basically like isolation, really, but with Christian compassion thrown in as well. And the hospital chapel itself was founded by Abbess Adeliza Fitzjohn, and she was from an Anglo-Norman family at the royal court, and she herself hosted King Stephen's court at the Great Abbey of Barking in the year 1145. Abbess Adeliza became abbess in 1138. She founded the hospital in circa 1145 on Abbey land in Ilford, first for sick brothers, and then her successor, who came along in 1173, was Mary Becket, none other than the sister of St Thomas Becket, and she was given this post as abbess in reparation, like a bribe, a guilt bribe if you want to look at it like that, for the murder of her brother. But anyway, she extended the hospital, and it was under her tenuage that the chapel was enlarged and it became used for lepers. Here, the image that we've just seen and this image come from a book called The Barking Ordinal, which dates from the medieval era and basically shows the abbess with her crook as we've just seen, and the nuns here praying piously. And among their prayers they would have been including the poor Lazars, the lepers at the Lazar house. And that is where we are going to go now, ladies and gentlemen. So we leave Anglo-Norman era England behind, and I drag you kicking and screaming into 2024 Ilford. So join me at this very modern urban location for a very ancient location. Off we go. Good morning, ladies and gents. I hope you're all well on this beautiful sunny morning. You join me in Ilford, and this is one that is not open all that often. It's an open day today, so this is where we've gone to. It's the Hospital Chapel of St Mary and St Thomas of Canterbury, founded by Abbess Adeliza of Barking Abbey, no less. I told you before Barking Abbey would crop up often, and she does. This was founded by the Abbess as a foundation for a chaplain and 13 lepers. Come the Reformation, it was taken down, disposed of, or closed down, whatever you want to call it, and it was refounded as a nursing home for elderly or sick men under the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, and the men were called the Brethren. This is its exterior. Flats there. Heavily restored in Victorian times. This is Bell Tower. Got some nice stained glass in this one, and a piece from a fairly famous school as well. So, not as in children's school, the school of stained glass makers. Got a plaque here. The Hospital of the Virgin Mary in St Thomas of Canterbury, the Martyr of Canterbury, now known as the Hospital Chapel. This building was founded in the 12th century by Adeliza, Abbess of Barking, as a home for lepers, and was used for this purpose until the 15th century. This plaque was donated and placed here by the Redbridge Council in 2002 to replace the lost tablet installed by Ilford Borough Council in 1951. Whether it was lost or stolen, I do not know. They've not said. So, at least said seen and mended. This is one of the older parts of it though, its porch, which I should like to highlight. Let's go in, shall we? Sorry, big man.
Was an industrial in those days. There was a lot of but he could have been just mucking around with his mates, or it could have been.
And this window over here is very special because it is Burne Jones.
Nevertheless, the congregation and the chaplain must have thought enough of it to be having this window put in. And I guess it was more or less the same time as they were in touch with Burne Jones, so although Burne Jones didn't make it, it comes from the same.
Quite heavily restored in the Victorian period, the church.
This is because of the top, there's an Norman window, so that would have been part of the original chapel.
Clement Mansfield, Ingleby.
The restoration of the chapel and 20 years ago, and we're not allowed to have any more of the infill removed because this is a grade 2 star listed building and costs. But the fact that it's a curved top, that means it's a normal window, and as you can see, the later windows that replaced them are pointed there. That was invented
It's absolutely beautiful, that stained glass really is. and from a very famous school as well. Also of interest, these here, what I was told about, are medieval ventilation shafts which go down into the wall, and they vent the inside of the chapel. No one knows when they were built. They are very old. So interesting. Like medieval air conditioning. This window there is Norman. It's got a beautiful feeling in it, this one, I must admit. This was basically the chapel for the old pensioners. This little entire complex was a hospital, as I said, founded by the Abbess of Barking in Norman times. I will go around and take separate photos of the monuments.
Beginning of the Trinity area, reliable in this part of London. And so you've got, for example, if you look there, you've got that blue paint with stars on it, which is a very nice church. And the population of the railways did come, as we know, properly, they're not very Ilford church. One more people who use it as a parish. Indeed, for the South Island. Yeah.
St Ethelburga of Barking. St Erckham Ward, he's the brother of St Ethelburga. He founded Barking Abbey for his sister and Chertsey Abbey for himself. St Chad, BC, St Dunstan, Selfridge, St Swithin, and St Edmund. And here we go into the oldest and most sacred part. It's the organ.
The whole place, I read an account of someone who came in, you've got families in the house, and it all somehow degenerated and lost its official purpose. And so it's
the old piece of Norman Alcatraz in there, look. That's Norman. Oh, this is some of the late Victorian stained glass. Very sepia looking in its appearance. And it's an open day for this one today. It's very rarely open, and I am going on holiday tomorrow, so whether it was a convenient day for me to visit or not, this one was getting visited, it had to be, because I don't know when the next open day will be, or yeah. Make hay while the sun shines, my friends, because you never know what's round the corner. I could be carried off by a 1930s runaway child's perambulator. Anything. And don't laugh, I mean, if you've seen the size of those things, they could easily kill a man. Beautiful stained glass. St. Maria. St. Thomas of Canterbury. Stained glass is beautiful. The Last Supper, of course. I love the mosaic tesseract type floor tiles and the Victorian ones as well. Underneath which you can see the original old flagstones. And of course, of great importance, which we must never forget. So a moment of silence and remembrance for our brave heroes who gave their lives for our country. And what I wanted to check, there's a piece of paper here. Let's see if this is information about this tomb. Yes. Excellent. It's a priest. Oh, look, Sir John Smith, priest. 1475. The chaplain of St Mary's Hospital, Great Ilford, Essex. Sir John Priest, master of the hospital and chapel of St Mary the Virgin and St Thomas of Canterbury. He died on Martinmas Day, the 11th of November, 1475. A brass from his tomb is now lost. Photograph that. I didn't see that writing up there. Whether it's in Latin or not, we shall find out. Here lieth the body of John Smith, sometime master. Sorry. Okay, hiya, how are you? Thank you. Look at this beautiful eagle lectern. I love these.
13 old and gentlemen, it was men. Couldn't have any men in the Abbey. So she decided to put it a mile away here.
65 coffins, look. Below this stone is a burial vault which was opened in December 1956 and a record made of 65 coffins. The vault was resealed 21st of January 1957 but remains accessible by the removal of this stone. Something it remains accessible if required by the removal of this stone. That's interesting. Ah, look, Barking Abbey. As I've said so many times about Barking Abbey, it was massively wealthy, one of the most wealthy abbeys in the country. And the abbesses of Barking held massive sway and power for women of their era. And Abbess Adeliza, who founded this place, well, she was just one of them. And here is inside the vault. Below this stone is a burial vault which was opened in 1956 and a record. Oh, that's what it says on that stone there, but yeah, that's that. I will go around and take separate photographs of the memorials. This is a Norman window, this one. Bricked up, of course, but with a Norman arch, look. It had been painted in its original day. Before Henry VIII and the Reformation came in, all British or English churches were brightly coloured and painted. The pensioners or men that were here were called the Brethren, and as that tour guide is saying, they would have had views of important people going to and from London along the Great Romford Road. The Reverend Canon W.J. Sparrow Simpson, D.D., 1860 to 1952, chaplain in St Mary's Hospital, Ilford, from 1904 to 1952. Wow. Priest, scholar, preacher, teacher, and writer. His best known work is that which he produced in conjunction with Sir John Stainer, The Crucifixion. Ilford Hospital Chapel, dedicated to St Mary and St Thomas of Canterbury. The chapel was founded by Adeliza, Abbess of Barking, in 1140 during the reign of King Stephen, for a prior, chaplain, and 13 lepers, and refounded in 1572 under Queen Elizabeth. The present building dates from the 15th century, but was much altered and enlarged in 1899. Until the erection of St Mary's in 1831, it was the only place of worship in Great Ilford. I don't know what's that there. I think that's just the yard, I think. Yeah. Anyway, ladies and gents, that concludes our tour of inside. I hope you've all enjoyed this one. Any historical images or whatnot will follow at the end of the video. Me again, ladies and gents. I didn't know you could get round this way. To finish our video off, this is the rear of the church chapel. Very much in a modern world of barking that smells heavily of fish, may I add. I mean heavily of fish, it absolutely stinks of it around here. But this is, as I say, the rear of it. And there are some carved heads, which I'd like to show you. Not much excitement there. You come through the end of the chapel into your toilet block and kitchen there. You come out here, and it was these that I'd like to show you. Some of them are quite worn. Some of them are in fairly good condition for their age. And they're quite different as well. Oh look, a happy medieval woman wearing a wimple. I'm photographing them as I'm going along. This fella does not look happy. That's where the fish smell's coming from. Dirty animalistic. See you next Tuesday's done that. Oh look, and a decomposing rat as well. No wonder it smells like round here. Oh my god. This area is going to the dumps. I breathed that in through my mouth and can taste it. I shan't be eating fish for a while now. I hope you all enjoyed this one, ladies and gents. Thank you for watching. Hope you all enjoyed the tour of that one, ladies and gents. A beautiful old building, obviously much restored in the Victorian era, but you can still get a sense for its history and the feeling of that history when you go inside. And now for our historical images. This one, a print from the early 19th century, shows the chapel, and over to the right the almshouses. They've changed quite a lot and changed again over the years. This lovely image, or both of them, shows the interior and exterior of the chapel in 1834, before all the big Victorian renovations hit. This one is very late Victorian to early Edwardian, a postcard, and as we can see the difference, it has a much lower wall, a lich gate, and the almshouses over to the right, which we can see in this, they've changed quite a bit. They'd been very Victorianised with bay windows by this era, but they've been put back to how they were, and the lich gate is gone. I assume the lich gate was a Victorian creation. 1926 for our image here. Once again showing the lich gate. We've got a gardener just inside, and we've got a lady walking along with a very impressive and bulky perambulator. And when I said get killed by a runaway 1930s perambulator, look at the size of this thing. You could be killed by something like that. A 1950s watercolour, and this shows us pretty much as we see today, with things put back to how they were. The lich gate's gone, the bay windows have been taken away from the almshouses, interesting. I do find crypts and vaults interesting. I am morbid, I won't lie. But underneath this stone, which has to be lifted up with specialist equipment, you will find this vault. And here is a much clearer image of the one we saw in the chapel. And here is, of course, what you expect to find lying inside a vault. Many, many coffins, and these are all lead-lined ones, so they would have been wealthy parishioners. And the lead lining, it was pretty much a thing with crypts in that if it wasn't done, the smell would become rapidly unpleasant for everyone worshipping above. So lead-lined was generally done for that reason, and it helps, of course, to preserve the body. Now, these are the lists of people buried within that crypt. And our first one is in 1821, and she is Lydia Steeple, and she buried on the 21st of February 1821, aged 80. So that's that. Our next list, do pause to read these if you want to, but they will be appearing in separate photographs if you want to zoom in and have a read at your own leisure. And our very last burial was Anne Rose in January the 18th, 1860, and she was also aged 80. So that's that little interesting snippet, and they all still lie underneath there. There have been ashes added, apparently, in more recent times, I read online. The almshouses, you see them marked here with the arrows left and right, and they've been put back to how they would have originally looked. And lovely enough, they still serve their original purpose. They are alms flats nowadays, once part of the leper house, and then the nursing home complex as it became, as we'd think of a nursing home complex. The brethren, they were basically what we would call pensioners, and they lived on the alms in the alms houses, and these alms flats still exist today and are still known as the alms flats. Barking Abbey, Easter Plays. This is a recreation done in Switzerland a few years ago. They chose the particular abbey that these are performed in because of its similarities to Barking. And here you see a reconstruction of Abbess Adeliza right over to the right, with her crook and her nuns and the chaplains. And here we see again the nuns making their obeisance to the abbess. And it was performed of the Abbey Church of La Magrugue in Switzerland by Medieval Convent Drama. Photo credit to them for these images as well. And I thought that was a nice little touch to show. And Leppers. This is an image taken from Brother Cadfael, the leper of St. Giles. But this is pretty much how a leper would have dressed. They had to carry a bowl or something with them that they could make a noise with to warn other people that they were coming near. Leprosy, of course, being contagious, was highly feared. And a lot of people were very unkind to lepers, because it appears in the Bible as, and to the mind of the era, that these people were given leprosy because of their sins. But thank goodness the church, in some regards, and the Lazar houses took a different aspect and a different outlook on that. And they were places of refuge and safety where these people could go and very often ended their days. And in and around our place, the old leper hospital, there will no doubt be lepers buried. The last indigenous case of leprosy in the UK died in 1798. Since 2015, there have been on average 5 new cases of leprosy in the UK each year. However, these are found among people entering the UK from highly endemic countries. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Hospital Chapel of Ilford. I hope you all enjoyed. Founded by, of course, the great Barking Abbey. Here is a view from the back. Hope you all enjoyed, and thanks for watching.